Hey, what's going on YouTube? In this video, we're going to be assembling our AR-15 upper receiver. It's 2024, and I hate that I have to do this, but for compliance, this video does not violate YouTube's firearms content policy because an AR-15 upper receiver doesn't include any serialized firearms components. You could have all of these parts shipped to your front door without needing to complete a Form 4473. Therefore, assembling an upper receiver and demonstrating the process does not mean manufacturing a firearm. So let's talk about all the components of an AR-15 upper receiver. You have your muzzle device or suppressor mount, the barrel, the handguard and all the accessories on it, like this emissary arms handbrake, the gas block, the gas tube, the upper receiver itself, which includes the dust cover and the forward assist, charging handle, and the bolt carrier group. Now let's take a look at all the parts you need to put it together. Assembling an upper receiver isn't necessarily harder than assembling a lower receiver. There's just more tools required. First, we need a vise that secures to a stable surface. And even before we have the vise, we should probably have safety glasses, because we are going to be working with a small spring that we can use the needle nose plier to manipulate the small spring for the dust cover. We'll need an AR armorer's wrench, and this one from Tapco will suit our purposes fine. And what each part does is indicated. There you go. You can open beer as well. The torque wrench to gauge the correct amounts of torque needed for the barrel nut and muzzle device. Hammer and a roll pin punch set that we're going to use to install the gas tube to the gas block. Some vices. This is Nomar. eBay doesn't sell these anymore for whatever reason, but this has been an indispensable part of my gunsmithing. If not, the Nomar, the Magpul bed block will work fine as well. And optionally, rock set for the muzzle device if you intend to mount a suppressor to your muzzle device. Before beginning the upper receiver build, I'm going to talk about the features of the Aero Precision M4E1 threaded upper receiver. Just like the lower receiver, the upper receiver is forged 7075 aluminum, so it has the look and features of many billet receivers, including more angular cuts in the geometry, instead of just one rounded side like you would find on most other forged upper receivers. It has threaded set screw for the forward assist instead of using roll pins found on many other forward assists. Now, one feature that, or inconvenience that I'm not quite fond of, is how it has a closed hole opposite where the forward assist rod goes in. This means that if you ever want to change out your forward assist, if you ever want to change out your ejection port for any reason, then you're going to have to most likely remove your barrel. So the upper receiver does come with a dust cover and the forward assist. Took out the forward assist just to show the roll pin installation method. And if you want to use custom dust cover, like I'm using this 556 NATO engraved one, it's better to do it, infinitely better to do it before you install your barrel and handguard. The interior of the receiver doesn't have the coating of dry lube that you would find on Colt or BCM receivers, and it does have cuts for, let me get the light over here, it does have cuts for M4 feed ramps. Now, for the average shooter, M4 feed ramps versus no M4 feed ramps is probably not going to be relevant, but it's definitely a why not thing because it's not like a feature you have to pay extra for. The M4 feed ramps were initially designed to help the full auto M4s cycle the 62 grain M855 round because it was a longer bullet and the cycling rate was way unreasonable in full auto. But with heavier buffers and mid-length gat systems, most shooters, especially shooting semi-auto, shouldn't have to worry about feeding concerns caused by the lack of the M4 feed ramp cuts. But again, it's definitely a why not type of thing. So let's begin with the dust cover install. There's an E-clip on this end. This end is going to be going towards the barrel. Get started. So it sits like this, but we need to wrap the short arm around so that it creates tension. Again, please be wearing eye protection. There we go. That's where the short leg needs to be pushing up against. So you rotate it. And there we go. Let's test for function. Oh crap. Oh crap. No, that happened with the regular Aero Precision cover too. Suppose it just needs a little bit of break-in. There we go. It's very stiff to undo. Next is the forward assist. We still have that 1/16 Allen key. Goes in right there. That hole is where we're trying to get the screw into. Pretty easy, not much to it. Before moving on to our beautiful Ballistic Advantage barrel, we're going to be setting up our handguard for installation. Handguard I'm going to be using is the SLR Rifleworks 13.7 inch Helix. This one really caught my eye, and one of the better features is it's lightweight, but it's also very comfortable to grip. Fully dehorned, and the shape of it complements the billet style appearance of the upper receiver. So here we have to begin by removing these bolts. So one right there. Careful, do not lose these. The orientation of them is very specific as well. So I'm just going to have them sat like that. Front left, front right. The rear tabs out did take a little bit more elbow grease. I did have to work them initially with my fingernail and then pry them with screwdriver. If you care about marring your receiver, like I just kind of did, you can put some oil on. So I do have the tabs oriented just like how we got them. They are different. See, front and rear, front, rear, front, rear. So it's a nice anti-rotary method for an aluminum barrel nut. 7075 aluminum is plenty strong for the purposes of holding the barrel in the upper receiver. A lot of the reason why the original specification was for steel barrel nuts was the amount of torque required to untorque the barrel nut, sometimes shear off the teeth of the barrel nuts. So It's nice to be able to save weight with aluminum barrel nuts, which Bill Geisley happens to do. So now, we'll talk about choice of barrel. This is a Ballistic Advantage fluted 223 Wild 16-inch mid-length gas system bead blasted stainless barrel. 223 Wild chambering allows for shooting a full power 5.56 ammunition while still maintaining the accuracy improving components of the 223 Remington chamber, such as less free bore. The 1/8-inch twist allows for shooting of up to 77 grains, but I feel like I can do some work with the 85 grain Barnes 416R stainless steel. Stainless steel, of course, is the best metal for accuracy. If you were going for longevity, then you would use a cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel. High pressure tested, magnetic particle inspected. It should come head spaced from the factory. This does have M4 feed ramps cut, and the important distinction is that if your barrel does not have M4 feed ramps cut into it, you shouldn't be using an upper receiver with M4 feed ramps. And also, how could anybody forget the condom thread protector? There we go. It should be concentric threads because I want to mount a suppressor. The fluting does wonders for keeping the weight of the barrel down while still maintaining most of the rigidity of the heavier profile barrel, and that's a very important distinction for me as I live in Maryland and we must build AR-15s with heavy barrels. But the qualification for a heavy barrel is the maximum outside diameter past the gas block does not taper down and is at least 0.750. That's maximum outside diameter. And the Picatinny rails at the top of the receiver are lightly scalloped to try and save some weight, but this receiver with the dust cover and forward assist assembled weighs about as much as most 7075 forged receivers. So 8.9 pounds, 8.9 ounces with the forward assist and the dust cover. So that's pretty typical weight-wise. The barrel with the thread protector weighs 1 pound, 12.5 ounces, just 28.5 ounces. Without the condom thread protector, 28.3 ounces. Handguard with all of the hardware, 8.9 ounces. All right, setting up the upper receiver for the barrel installation. Going to be using our Nomar. There we go. May have to work a little bit with the alignment to get the pins in. I'm telling you, it's been a really indispensable part of my gunsmithing. That on the top of it, and then the top is going to go over that, and then we're going to clamp it like that. So it is imperative that you have an actual torque wrench because you will crack either the receiver. Actually, you're more likely to crack the barrel nut, but it is aluminum. Specification is a specification. Very important. Try and get 75 pounds. Sorry, 75 pounds, 35 pounds. For inserting the barrel so that the index pin aligns with the notch on the upper receiver, I want to get some aeroshell grease slathered onto the barrel extension. Use any applicator method that you want. Make sure have a pretty reasonable amount of grease on there, so that one day, should you choose to remove your barrel from your upper receiver, you can do it without breaking the upper receiver. All right, do not need Picasso level work here. some good fitment. And same concept. Before putting on the barrel nut, going to get some aeroshell grease on the threads. Again, do not need Picasso level work here. Let's thread on the barrel nut. And bottom it out by hand. There we go. Now let's finish torquing it on with 35 foot-pounds. Seeing the barrel nut. This notch is where your torque wrench goes. This notch goes over the barrel nut. Whoops. Alright, it's on. Make sure though that your vise is actually clamped down real nicely. Torque wrench set to 35 foot-pounds. And here's the important part. Don't ask me the physics behind why this is, but you don't want to be torquing straight on like this. You want to be torquing not like that either. You want to be torquing with the torque wrench at a 90-degree angle. So like that. Now that's even more 90 degrees. All right, so let's go ahead and torque. When it clicks, so we have 35 foot-pounds. There we go, 35. Woo! And we did it at the correct 90-degree angle. There we go. Now I won't be actually installing the handguard until I get my gas block in from Optics Planet. Man, everybody is faster than Optics Planet. Okay. The gas tube, make sure that the hole for the roll pin aligns with the hole for the roll pin in the gas block. That's pretty damn obvious. As well as the port for the gas tube aligning with the ports in the gas block. That would be very, very embarrassing to install it upside down. So right here, hopefully you've kept handy your roll pin punches. Let's go ahead and use one for alignment there. And then with that being done, where did that stainless steel roll pin go? There we go. Ready to install this. Find yourself a nice pounding surface. Alright, you can see now the utility of the Nomar vice block coming in handy again. It's allowing me an access hole to get roll pin flush for the last bit. So here's some notes on gas block installation, attachment, and alignments. The hole on your gas block is much larger than the hole on the gas port on your barrel. So air quotes, eyeballing it is generally good enough. But if you do want to be absolutely precise, you can use a pencil and draw down the center line of where the hole on the gas tube or the gas block is and align and make the exact mark using a straight edge from your gas port down to the muzzle and have the center lines match. Yep, and you would just make an equivalent straighter than my line, hopefully, on your barrel for alignment. Now, you see on this titanium gas block, you can tell I'm doing this video in machete order, there's a space there. You can use a spacer if you want, or you can just eyeball it for about that much because that gap there accounts for the normally handguard cap that will be used for the non-free float upper or the non-free float rails, the clamp-on style rails. And then just slide your gas block over your barrel and into the upper receiver hole. As for attachment methods, you see this gas block as a place to drill, but I've never really needed to do that. I've never even needed to dimple a barrel. Just using the provided set screws, torquing them down, locking them down with rock set should be good enough. And how much torque to apply, each manufacturer will be a little bit different. You can use a Wheeler torque wrench to get precise torque, but have faith in your gas block to cycle. Okay, you're watching me suffer the trial and error of timing a muzzle device. I'm using a muzzle brake from Griffin Armament as a suppressor mount. And when you're mounting a suppressor to any muzzle device, it's imperative that you do not use a crush washer, because a crush washer, when torquing your muzzle device, will not crush evenly, which may cause your suppressor to be misaligned with the center of your bore when attached to your muzzle device, and that can cause a baffle strike when firing a projectile down your suppressor. So use a shim kit. Shims are flat. It may take a lot of trial and error, but it's absolutely not worth the risk of a baffle strike in using a crush washer. Another reason why I'm not going to town with torque, even though Griffin Armament has specified a torque amount that they wish we hit, is because I've read from precision shooters that too much torque can affect accuracy. The veracity of that statement, I don't know, but they are precision rifle shooters. All right, with the muzzle brake installed and timed, as well as the gas block installed and timed, we are able to install our handguard. So, have the receiver snuggled lightly into a vise. The SLR handguard, go ahead and slide on the handguard. Before you do get to the end, make sure to put on the billet anti-rotation tab. Looks like this. Go. It's in there. And you shouldn't need to worry about the upper rail alignments because the tabs that come with the handguard do a good enough job of the alignment. But if you did want to be absolutely sure of your receiver's alignment with the rail, you can go ahead and snap a piece of Picatinny rail onto it. Now we're ready to install the tabs that hold in the bolts that secure the handguard. And the major difference between the front and the rear tabs is that the front tabs have a raised lip on the concave side that acts as an additional failsafe. Front one into the groove. There we go. And the rear one without the lip on the concave side. So we'll go like this. And I feel like it might be mechanically stronger to tighten in opposing sides. And you should be able to get enough torque by just using the short ends of the Allen keys. Now we have our handguard, gas block, and muzzle brake all aligned, ready to go. And congratulations, you completed your AR-15 upper assembly. The botched machete order of my video will now allow me to demonstrate the final pieces that you will need. A bolt carrier group generally comes completely assembled with the gas keys staked on, but from here we can go ahead and poke out the firing pin retaining pin, and I'm disassembling the bolt carrier group so I can show you the reassembly if you get a bolt carrier group and a bolt separately. But you generally buy or obtain the bolt carrier group and the bolt together. Very low probability you actually need to headspace your bolt to the barrel because the barrel extensions are headspaced at the factory. But yeah, I took apart the bolt carrier group so I can show you how to put it back together if you do get bolt carrier and the bolt separately. All right, let's go. Bolt into the carrier. Ejector side facing that away. That is where the cam pin goes. Cam pin. This direction so that now we can rotate it. This allows us to put in our firing pin. Front. Firing pin. And the firing pin, retaining pin that I dropped. Good place to put it is inside your charging handle. But here we go, firing pin, retaining pin. Firing pin, retaining pin. This one is spec'd a little weird that it takes a few tries to do. There you go. Now my firing pin isn't going anywhere. My cam pin retains well, very well. Points of lubrication, the rear of the bolt lugs, and here and here. These are the primary contact points of your bolt carrier with your upper receiver. Charging handle, so cut out for the charging handle. The bolt should be all the way forward when trying to put it back into the upper receiver. Not like this. Like this, otherwise it won't work. Bolt inside. Congratulations, you've assembled your AR-15 upper receiver. There's a Vortex Gen 2 1-6 LVPO. Strike Industries 45/regular folding backup iron sights. And you'll absolutely get roasted on the internet. You see, this won't flip up because the optic is in the way, but now I can use offset iron sights at a 45-degree cant while using the scope as well. As I mentioned earlier, titanium gas block, which wasn't shown during the earlier build, and the Strike Industries forward assist, which is more for aesthetics than anything else. I am reverting back to a regular forward assist because this Strike Industries one doesn't work very well. This is the Radian polymer charging handle. So that's pretty much all there is to it. I love using the Barnes Precision Max 85 grainers. If anybody is interested in seeing accuracy testing, we'll have to get this video a lot more popular for me to do so. Thanks for watching, guys. Or even a... Alright, I just got a text. Where was I? High pressure tested, magnetic particle inspected,